Chapter 38. I break down in a Volkswagen. I stood in a sunlit meadow with no memory of how I got there. In the distance, wildflowers dusted rolling green hills. The breeze smelled of lavender. The light was warm and rich, as if the air had turned to butter. My thoughts moved sluggishly. Sunlight was bad for dwarves. I was pretty sure I'd been traveling with a dwarf. Someone who had slapped me and saved my life? Blitz? He stood on my left, holding his pith helmet at his side. Blitz, your hat! I was afraid he'd already become stone. Then he turned. His eyes were stormy and distant. It's okay, kid. This isn't regular sunlight. We are not on Midgard anymore. He sounded like he was talking through wax paper. The squirrel's yap had left a crackling in my ears and some corrosive thoughts rattling around in my brain. Ratatosk. I couldn't finish the sentence. Just saying his name made me want to curl up in the fetal position. Yeah, Blitz said. His bark is literally worse than his bite. Blitz looked down, blinking rapidly. He's the most destructive creature in the world tree. He spends his time running up and down the trunk, carrying insults from the eagle who lives on the top of Nidhogg, the dragon who lives at the roots. I gazed toward the hills. Faint sounds of music seemed to be coming from that direction. Or maybe it was the static in my ears. Why would a squirrel do that? To damage the tree, Blitz said. Ratatosk keeps the eagle and the dragon whipped into a frenzy. He tells them lies, rumors, nasty gossip about each other. His words can... Well, you know what his words can do. The dragon, Nidhogg, is always chewing on the roots of the world tree, trying to kill it. The eagle flaps his wings and creates windstorms that rip the branches and cause devastation through the 9 worlds. Ratatosk makes sure the two monsters stay angry and in competition with each other to see which can destroy their end of Yggdrasil faster. But that's crazy. The squirrel lives in the tree. Blitz grimaced. We all do, kid. People have destructive impulses. Some of us want to see the world in ruins, just for the fun of it, even if we're ruined along with it. Ratatosk's chatter echoed in my head. You have failed. You could not save your mother. The squirrel had driven me to despair, but I could see how his bark might stir up other emotions. Hatred, bitterness, self-loathing. How did you keep your wits? I asked Blitz. When the squirrel barked, what did you hear? Blitz ran his fingers across the brim of his pith helmet, pinching the edge of the black veil. Nothing I don't tell myself all the time, kid. We should get going. He trudged off toward the hills. Despite his short stride, I had to power walk to keep up. We crossed a stream where a picturesque little frog sat on a lily pad. Doves and falcons spiraled through the air like they were playing tag. I half expected a chorus line of fuzzy animals to pop out of the wildflowers and launch into a Disney musical number. I'm guessing this is not Nidavellir, I said as we climbed up the hill. Blitzen snorted. No, much worse. Alfheim? Worse. Blitzen stopped just short of the crest and took a deep breath. At the top of the hill, I froze. Whoa. Down the other side, green fields stretched to the horizon. Meadows were strewn with picnic blankets. Crowds of people were hanging out, eating, laughing, chatting, playing music, flying kites, tossing beach balls. It was the world's largest, most laid-back outdoor concert, minus the concert. Some folks were dressed in various bits of armor. Most had weapons, but they didn't seem very interested in using them. In the shade of an oak tree, a couple of young ladies were sword fighting, but after crossing blades a few times, they got bored, dropped their weapons, and started chatting. Another guy lounged in a lawn chair, flirting with the girl on his left, while he casually parried attacks from the guy standing on his right. Blitz pointed to the crest of the next hill about a half a mile away, where a strange palace gleamed. It looked like an upside-down Noah's Ark, made of gold and silver. Sesrenir, said Blitzen. The hall of many seats. If we're lucky, maybe she won't be home. Who? Instead of answering, he waded into the crowd. We hadn't gone 20 feet before the guy on a nearby picnic blanket called, Hey, Blitzen, what's up, dude? Blitzen ground his teeth so hard I could hear them popping. Hello, Miles. Yeah, I'm good. Miles raised his sword absently as another guy in beach trunks and a muscle shirt charged toward him with a battle axe. The attacker screamed, "Die!" Just kidding. Then he walked away, eating a chocolate bar. "So, Blitz," Miles said, "what brings you to Casa de Awesome?" "Nice seeing you, Miles." Blitzen grabbed my arm and led me onward. "Okay, cool," Miles called after us. "Keep in touch." "Who is that?" I asked. "Nobody." "How do you know him?" "I don't." As we made our way toward the upside-down Ark mansion, more people stopped and said hello to Blitzen. A few greeted me and complimented me on my sword, or my hair, or my shoes. One girl said, "Oh, nice ears," which didn't make much sense. "Everybody is so stupid," Blitzen offered. "I was going to say mellow," he grunted. "This is Folkvanger, the field of the army, or you could translate it to the people's battlefield. So this is Volkswagen." I scanned the crowds, wondering if I would spot my mother, but I couldn't imagine her in a place like this. There was way too much lounging around, not enough action. My mom would have rousted these warriors to their feet, led them on a 10-mile hike, and then insisted they set up their own campsites if they wanted any dinner. "They don't seem like much of an army." "Yeah, well," Blitz said, "these fallen are just as powerful as the Einerjar, but they have a different attitude. This realm is one of little subsection of Vanaheim, sort of Veneer's god's flip side version of Valhalla." I tried to picture myself spending eternity here. Valhalla had its good points, but as far as I'd seen, it didn't have picnics or beach balls, and I definitely wouldn't describe it as mellow. Still, I wasn't sure I liked Folkvanger much better. "So, half the worthy go here," I remembered, "half go to Valhalla. How do you pick who goes where? Is it a coin toss?" That would make more sense, actually. "But I was trying to get us to Nidavellir. Why did we come here?" Blitzen stared at the mansion atop the hill. "You were looking for the path we needed for our quest. The path led us through Folkvanger. Unfortunately, I think I know why. Let's go pay our respects before I lose my nerve." As we approached the gates, I realized Susrenir wasn't just built to look like an upside-down ship. It actually was an upside-down ship. The rows of tall windows were ore slots. The sloping walls of the hull were made from clinkered gold planks, riveted with silver nails. The main entrance had a long awning that would have served as a gangplank. "Why is it a boat?" I asked. "What?" Blitzen fiddled nervously with his carnation. "Not so unusual. Your Norse ancestors made lots of buildings by turning their shape upside down. In case of Sesrenir, when the day of doom comes around, we'll just flip the palace over and voila! It's a vessel big enough for all the warriors of Folkvanger to sail nobly to their deaths. Sort of like we're doing now." He led me inside. I'd been expecting a gloomy interior like the hold of a ship. But the hall of many seats was more like a cathedral. The ceiling rose all the way to the keel. The ore-hole windows cross-hatched the air with bars of light. The entire space was open. No separate rooms or partitions, just clusters of sofa, comfy chairs, throw pillows, and freestanding hammocks, most of which were occupied by snoring warriors. I hoped the 500,000 inhabitants of Folkvanger liked one another's company, because there was no privacy. Me being me, the main thing I wondered was where they all went to the bathroom. Down the center of the hall ran an aisle of Persian carpets, flanked by braziers with glowing spheres of gold light. At the far end stood a throne on a raised dais. Blitz marched in that direction, ignoring the warriors who greeted him with "Dude!" and "Sup, dwarf man!" and "Welcome home!" In front of the dais, a cozy fire crackled in the hearth. Piles of jewelry and precious gems glittered here and there as if somebody had swept them up just to get them off the floor. On either side of the steps lounged a calico house cat the size of a saber-toothed tiger. The throne was carved from wood as soft and buttery as the linden wood, maybe. The back was draped with a cloak of downy feathers, like the underside of a falcon. In the throne itself sat the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. She looked maybe 20 years old, surrounded by an aura of golden radiance that made me feel what Blitzen meant earlier when he said the daylight here wasn't normal. The entire realm of Folkvanger was warm and bright, not because of the sun, but because of It basked in this woman's power. Her blonde hair fell across her shoulder in a single long plait. Her white halter top showed off her tan shoulders and her smooth midriff. Her knee-length skirt was belted with a gold braid holding a sheathed knife and a ring of keys. Around her neck was a dazzling piece of jewelry, a lacework collar of gold and gems, like Rand's net in miniature, except with rubies and diamonds instead of sailors' souls and hubcaps. The woman fixed me with her sky-blue eyes. When she smiled, heat traveled from the tips of my ears right down to my toes. I would have done anything to make her keep smiling at me. If she told me to jump off the world tree into oblivion, I would have done it in a second. I remembered her picture from my old children's mythology book and realized how ridiculously it undersold her beauty. The goddess of love was very pretty. She had cats. I knelt before my aunt, the twin sister of my father. "Freya, my dear Magnus," she said, "how nice to meet you in person." She turned to Blitzen, who was glowering at his boots. "And how are you, Blitzen?" asked the goddess. Blitzen sighed. "I'm fine, Mom."